Top 10 The Worst Bombers of the Second World War. 10. Tupolev TB-3. When the Soviet Tupolev TB-3 first flew on 22 December 1930, it was an impressively modern design. Unlike most aircraft of the time, including all operational heavy bombers, it featured a self-supporting or cantilever wing. This cleaner, stronger wing reduced drag and hinted at the future of aviation design. For a bomber first flying in 1930, the TB-3 was unusually large, modern in its cantilever monoplane configuration, and unique in being powered by 4 engines. Revolutionary when it first arrived, it was dangerously outdated by 1941. Vast and lumbering, with a top speed of just 132 miles per hour, 212 kilometers per hour, it was a sitting duck against German fighters. 9. Blackburn Botha. The Blackburn Company is always represented in any list of terrible aircraft, and so for the dignity of Blackburn fans, let's get this out of the way first. The Botha first flew in 1938, entering service after the war had started, 2 weeks before Christmas in 1939. Though the Botha is often described as underpowered, it is interesting to compare it to the Beaufort, which is not condemned in the same way. Even with a higher power-to-weight ratio on paper, the Botha's draggy airframe and poor aerodynamics made it slower and less capable than the Beaufort. Its poor performance meant it was never to enter service in its primary role as a torpedo bomber. 8. Breda BA.88 Lince. The early life of the BA.88 appeared extremely promising. Appearing in 1937, the aircraft featured many advanced features, notably a sleek, low-drag design and a retractable undercarriage. It even smashed several world speed records. But once fully adapted for its ground attack role, its weight grew and flaws became apparent. Seemingly, Italian company Breda thought proof that the adage, "if it looks right, it'll fly right," is a load of old cobblers. The Lince looked fast and purposeful, yet it was so overweight, draggy, and underpowered that it sometimes refused to fly at all. 7. Douglas TBD Devastator. Touted on its debut as the most advanced naval aircraft in the world, the Devastator was proof that manufacturers' claims can often be taken with a Pacific Ocean-sized grain of salt. Its chronic vulnerability has become infamous. It was required to fly straight and level at a stately 115 miles per hour, 185 kilometers per hour, to deliver its torpedo, a speed that meant it could be easily intercepted by an SE-5A of 1917 vintage, unfortunate for an aircraft operating 25 years later. Furthermore, the poor old TBD had a woeful defensive armament and lacked maneuverability. Its problems didn't stop there, as its main armament, the Mark 13 torpedo, was a dreadful weapon plagued with reliability issues and frequently observed to score a hit but then fail to explode. 6. Fairey Battle. Despite being the first RAF aircraft to shoot down an enemy aircraft in the Second World War and the first aircraft to be fitted with the superlative Merlin engine, the Battle was woeful. Every fighting power of the Second World War seemingly pulled out all the stops to produce dreadful light and medium bombers, apparently designed solely for killing aircrew, but the Battle lowered the bar of uselessness to an unassailable depth. Its shortcomings had been recognized before the war, but the Battle had one overriding trump card: it was cheap. In late 30s Britain, it was decided that having lots of second-rate bombers was better than having none at all, especially in announcing production totals to a hostile parliament and press. 5. Brewster SB-2A Buccaneer. Brewster's design promised a capable scout bomber, but spiraled into an overweight, overcomplicated liability. Every design tweak added mass without adding merit. The aircraft emerged bloated, its performance crippled before it left the drawing board. As we shall see, it achieved a rare ignoble distinction for a combat aircraft, created when nations were at their hungriest for aircraft. Pilots reported dismal handling. The Buccaneer wallowed through turns, responded sluggishly to control inputs, and struggled to maintain energy. Survival in combat depended on agility and climb performance. Pilots found aircraft felt dangerously lazy. It was a bomber that could neither escape nor effectively attack, a terrible combination. 4. Caproni Ca.135. The curse of Italian combat aircraft in the Second World War, of which many were excellent designs, was an absence of indigenous high-power engines. But the Ca.135 was not an excellent design, and even without the engine limitations, it would have been a turkey. On paper, it had a similar power-to-weight ratio to the successful HE-111, but in reality, the Piaggio PXI suffered from reliability issues and altitude performance drops, so effective power in combat could be much lower than theoretical. In practice, poor engine reliability, high wing loading, and poor aerodynamics made it feel underpowered for takeoff, climb, and fully loaded combat missions in hot climates. 3. Handley Page, Hampden. Of the British twin-engine medium bombers early in the war, the Vickers-Wellington, Armstrong-Whitworth-Wiley, and Handley Page Hampden, the latter was the fastest. At 265 miles per hour, 426 kilometers per hour, it had a clear margin over the Wiley, 230 miles per hour, 370 kilometers per hour, and a moderate one over the Wellington, 250 miles per hour, 402 kilometers per hour, fastest variant. Aerodynamically, it was very advanced when it was designed, but speed was all it had going for it, and even that soon proved insufficient. It had the shortest range, smallest bomb load, and weakest defensive armament of the three. Its ability to withstand enemy fire was also the poorest, a very grave matter indeed. 2. Avro Manchester. Of the 193 Avro Manchesters that saw service, 123 were lost. It was with good reason that assignment to the Manchester was viewed by many in Bomber Command as a death sentence. Its reputation for danger was well earned. Mournfully underpowered by two unreliable Vulture engines, loss of power in one engine, an all too common occurrence, was often disastrous. Up to February 1942, the average number of serviceable Manchesters at any one time never exceeded 31. When not grounded or catching fire in flight, hydraulic fluid occasionally sprayed into the cockpit. 1. Heinkel H-177, Grief. It has been semi-factiously suggested that the H-177 was a war-winning weapon, but not the side it was on. Thankfully for the free world, Germany never managed to get a truly effective large heavy bomber force together in the Second World War. However, they did manage to make a staggeringly huge total of 1,169 of the abysmal H-177. It had many issues, but number one was the two engines coupled into a complex, cramped pod on each wing, which tended to catch fire. In an effort to fulfill their obsessive desire to reduce drag, Heinkel decided to use cutting-edge technology to provide the aircraft's defensive weaponry in 3 remotely controlled turrets. These offered other advantages, such as reducing the vulnerability of the gunners and providing them with the best possible view.